Thank you, Sam. And thank you for bringing me to Harmonica UK. I wish I could be there in person. And it's been a long time, but we look forward to coming back and doing this in the flesh, so to speak. So I know people are still, I don't know actually if people are still getting in the room or not, but just to introduce the topic at hand, since Sam gave me a nice introduction about me, I wanted to talk a little bit about tongue blocking. I was talking to Paul about this before we set this up, and I said, what should I do for a topic? And he said, well, talk about people being themselves, you know. I said, well, that's a pretty broad topic. But then the more we talked about expression and the expression of your mood or your art, that segued into a discussion of the breath and how the breath expresses your emotions. And from the breath, that sort of went to tongue blocking naturally, because everything is inextricably linked here. So I've always wanted to make a video called Secrets of Tongue Blocking, and maybe one day I will, so this might be a run-up to that. I learned tongue blocking from Jerry Portnoy when I had been playing about a year or so. Jerry lived 2 towns over, outside of Boston, and he taught me how to do the basic thing where you just blow a chord and then stick your tongue out and cover everything but one note. And that started me down that road, but I didn't really understand how to get from to something resembling blues music. So a little while went by, and I went off to college, and somebody in my dorm was trying to impress his girlfriend, and he started playing this. So that impressed me also. I don't know if his girlfriend was impressed, but I was. But it still didn't sound like blues to me, and it took a little while before it started pulling together, actually around playing in third position and trying to figure out how I'm Ready went. I said, that sounds kind of like I'm Ready. Not really, but a little bit. And then it all just started falling together from there, but the real key was Slim Harpo. I had a tape cassette of Slim Harpo, I think a record called Slim Harpo Knew the Blues. And that was my 3 a day. I'd listen to that just so many times during the day and listen to that. And on the other side of the cassette was Taj Mahal. And so I was getting an octave education as well as a position playing education, and I didn't really know it. And Slim Harpo would play things, just little intros. The intro to Tina Nina Nu. He starts out what sounds like third position, and it's actually first position. So I didn't know any of these things. I didn't know what third position was, but because of the octave playing, it actually started coming through. So let's backtrack a little bit, and I want to say I'll be talking at you a little, and then I'll be really reaching out for questions. I can't quite read the chat from where I'm sitting, but Sam and Dave are going to be, and Pete are going to be reviewing the questions and funneling them to me. So please feel free to ask as many questions as you want, and I'll check in every now and then and see what's going on, because I really want to hear from you and hear what you want to get out of this workshop. So just starting out with what tongue blocking is, for anybody who isn't aware of that. I know we have some pucker players here. Tongue blocking is when you're playing usually a chord and you're blocking out some or most of the notes with your tongue. A lot of people approach it by starting out trying to press their tongue into the harmonica, but that won't help you play any louder. You actually want to keep your tongue really relaxed because it gives you a good seal. So a sort of classic mouth breather position would be like that. And you can let everything go slack, you know, eyes, cheeks. But that gives you the best sound on the harmonica. It sounds like, but it really looks like. So, so the classic single note tongue block would just be, but when you add a tongue slap to it, you start with the chord. I'm playing 1, 2, 3, and 4 blow on my A harp. And just letting my tongue ride the air current forward until it lands on the harmonica and then just gloms on there. And just to show you from the side, like that, the tip of my tongue is below the comb of the harmonica. It's not really touching the comb itself because I get better coverage from the wider part of my tongue, which is a little farther back. So instead of like that, and it's folded over a little bit. Some players play with their tongue, the underside of their tongue on the harmonica, and then that's actually even more of a no-touch position because you just put the tip of your tongue on the top of the cover plate, like that, and let the underside of your tongue overlap onto the holes of the harmonica. A little different to figure out. Actually, it gives you a very different sound, and we'll talk about that a little later. So those are the basics of tongue blocking. When you draw, sometimes people have trouble getting used to their first draw tongue block because they're used to tensing up for a pucker. So they'll go like that, and everything will just sound like a balloon. You're squeezing the air out of it. So relaxation is really key. And even breathing, and try not to tense up and make it a big attack. You actually want less attack, if possible. You want to use less air. It sounds like you're using a lot of air, like you're going, like really pushing, but actually what's happening is you're playing 4 holes worth of air. And when your tongue goes onto the harmonica, all that energy has to go somewhere. So now all that energy is going into the one hole, and there's a sense of a wave. All you need to do is just ride the wave. You don't need to push it. And that will give you a much more relaxed sound and a much bigger tone. And the advantage of tongue blocking, well, the many advantages of tongue blocking, which include being able to play percussively and be your own rhythm section, it also includes being able to get a very even tone because you're not squeezing your lips and cheeks together to get that pucker. So a sound, I don't know if this will come through on Zoom, but I'll try it. So a pucker on the 4 blow might sound like this, or 4 draw. And a tongue block might sound like this. Tell me if it's any different. So there's none of that squeezy, high-end, shrill stuff happening. You can really get the sound to be very mellow with a tongue block. So that's another advantage. So I want to backtrack here and start out with some things we can work on together, yes? Okay, good. One of the other key techniques to playing tongue blocking or puckering and getting a good sound, a good blues sound, and other kinds of music too, is to be able to play percussively, play beat out rhythms, and also speechify through the harmonica. So you end up using a lot of phonetic sounds with your tongue, which aren't tongue blocking. They're just effects that you use with your tongue, such as you would if you were speaking. So when I say, I never can think of the right word, like a word like taka laka laka, but that's not a word. Okay, a word like dictator, for instance, which might be a little too relevant these days. But you can say these things through the harmonica. It's just tongue articulation, dictator. And you're using the tip of your tongue for the D, de, and then the ka is the middle of your tongue, da, ka, and then the ta is back to the front, da, ka, ta, dictator. And then the R is kind of rolling around in the middle. That's not really a con. It's a soft consonant. So let's see, what we want to do with that dictator is we want to just take it down a peg a little bit and talk maybe about ducks and taters. really should script these things out, you know. Just improvising isn't always my strong suit at this hour. So if you'll try this with me, just blow into the 1, 2, 3 holes of the harmonica. And the beauty of everybody being muted is it can be whatever key you want, but it helps if it's an A harp. And just say gently, ta, 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 ta. If you want to make it a little gentler, it would be da, 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 da. And now let's try that on the draw. So just 1, 2, and 3 together. And very gently. You'll notice if you play it more harsh that it gives you a different kind of feel. A nice little effect is to say ta-da-la. We always get our Lone Ranger theme going here. So you get that sort of clippity-clop feel. So here's a trick that not a lot of people know. You can say the letter D with the tip of your tongue, or T, with the very tip against the ridge behind your front teeth. And you can also take the tip of your tongue and tuck it behind your bottom teeth, below the teeth, like that, and say da, da, da. With the middle of your tongue, you can say da. This gives you a much fatter sound because it's coming from the fatter part of your tongue. And it really is a different effect with moving the air around on the harp if you try it. So now you've got a little pocket of air in front of this great mass of tongue, and it's going to move it very differently than saying ta with a nice fat ah sound. So one, you're really emphasizing the da, ta with the tip of your tongue. But if you move towards the middle of your tongue and say da, da, ta, now you can move smaller amounts of air with exactly the same amount of volume and be effective that way. So sometimes I'm doing one, sometimes I'm doing the other. It really depends on how much air I need. Sometimes if you want to get rid of some, you just want to push as much air out as possible. And sometimes if you want to conserve the air coming in, you want to really come up with as many ways of ramping that down. So tongue articulation and phonetics are great for that. So I just want to pause and ask if there are any questions at this point, so that I don't get too far into this. With any
there are a couple of questions that come in. There's two actually with the same theme. It's about bending whilst tongue blocking, and also someone's saying, this is HarmocaUK saying, what holds them back from using tongue blocking is the problem with saliva blocking the reeds. But I guess holding your chin up is the solution. And someone else says, yes, that is the solution. So what do you think about that then?
Well, when I first started playing, I went out to see this guy play. His name was, I think, Ross Johnson. And I've never saw him after that, but he was really popular for that moment, for that month in the 1980s when I saw him. And I asked him that very question: how do you keep from getting the harmonica comb to swell up, and how do you keep from drooling the harmonica? He goes, you just don't drool so much. So you can there is a bit of a mind over matter aspect of this. It really is somewhat dependent on what you've eaten before the gig, what you've eaten recently. I always think of hot sauce as being a great thing to have on anything a couple of hours before the show, because it'll really clear everything out. But it really depends. If you eat within an hour, half hour of playing, it's really difficult to contain the production of salivary juices. So I really ought to have Christelle here just making jokes while I'm doing this, for extra humor value. So the saliva issue, it shouldn't be an issue with tongue blocking if you are relaxed and if you haven't eaten within the past hour. But it does take some getting used to, and that just takes time. But if your lips are relaxed, your tongue is relaxed, you're getting a good seal, you're not activating those glands as much. The question of bending, one of the reasons I'm starting with phonetics is because this is really about untying your tongue, not just tongue blocking, but using your tongue in your playing as part of your whole apparatus. So let's say you're playing a puckered 4 draw and you want to bend it. If you're just starting out bending, you might be using your lips to cover the hole a little bit to block out the air, and that'll bend the note. If you're a little farther along into bending, you might be using the T. You might be using the front of your tongue. If you're a little farther along than that, you might be using the back of your tongue. And once you're more comfortable with bending, and you've been playing for a while, it's a lot easier to get that bend in your throat, which is really where it should be coming from. So that's really right in here is where the air is stopping, and it's getting held back by the relaxed mass of folds of tissue in your throat. So it's like, again, letting air out of a balloon, except here's the neck of the balloon right here. So this is where the glottal stop is really useful in harmonic playing. So for instance, if you were just making a rhythm with a glottal stop, right? There's another one that can trip you up depending on what you've had to eat. But it's basically like coughing or laughing. It's how we get our throat tremolo. It's all in here. So this is another place to have phonetics and percussiveness down here, and it's really the very base of the tongue, or below the base of the tongue. And really, glottis. Now, every part of your tongue can get involved in this process to help ramp down the air. The key with bending, and I haven't heard people say this enough, is to actually have less air going through the harmonica than what it would usually accommodate. So if you're making the size of your aperture essentially smaller than the size of one hole on the harmonica or the space around the reed, then you're changing the ability of the reed to vibrate at pitch, and the pitch goes down. Where you cut off that air can be anywhere, again, from your lips blocking the harmonica, from the sound of a T just being held, which it's a lot of weight and pressure to put on the front of the tongue. The middle of the tongue is a really good place to articulate that. So if you say ki, ki, ku, ki, and they really hold on to those K sounds. You're also going to get some assistance from the back of your throat. You're ramping down the air pressure here with your tongue against your palate, and then your throat can moderate what's left much more easily. Does that make sense? So I'm starting to go ki, 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 ku, and then I want to move it back down into my throat. Ki, ki, ku, ko. Getting the sort of flat bend. And really, if it's happening in your throat, you can do the whole thing here. And I've had a lot of luck with my German-speaking students. My German and Norwegian students have done really well with the glottal sound.
So if you speak in a voice like this, it's very easy to get that sound out of the harmonica. It's back in here.
So ki, ku, ko, and ko, and sort of the Germanic her back in there. I think of it as Kermit the Frog sounds.
Hi, her.
So this is all with puckering so far. But once you are able to get that bend articulated in the throat, you can move that over to tongue blocking, because it's all really happening here. And you can kick it off with a ki, ku, with your tongue on the harp. If you've never tried that before, you could try it without the harp by biting down on one side of your tongue and trying to say ki, ku, ki, ku, ki, ku. And it's not that hard to do. You just use the back of the side of your tongue kind of and just say it. Don't worry about where it is, just try to make the sound. Obviously, you can't say T2, T2 when your tongue is on the harp, but that's okay. Any luck? Looking for, the things okay, I'll get to that.
Do you want me to read
So
some?
the best way to get started on tongue blocking, I see the question in chat, and I just want to address that, is to just start. Start by playing a straight harp, first position scale. And just get used to those notes. It's a lot even just to get do, re, mi. And even do, re, mi, fa, so. You don't have to go all the way up. And then for blues, you're going to be dipping down below the 4-hole, and so getting used to articulating bends with K sounds and with your throat is going to come in really handy for that, so that you can go and just stay with the tongue block all the way down. And you don't go to upper at the 3-hole, and that'll work too. I usually go up from a pucker from the 1 up to the 3 and then switch at the 4, or down from a tongue block and switch at the 2. So go pucker, tongue block, or tongue block, and then pucker. So you can do a lot of cheating in this, there's no rule that you have to tongue block everything or that you have to tongue slap everything, because that's another habit that people can get into with saying and then everything sounds like ba 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 ba. It gets really sloppy and messy. So gradually, the more you listen and the more you play, you start doing things just reflexively and by ear. You start changing things up and maybe going to maybe sticking your tongue onto the harp and leaving it there after the slap, and then getting a smooth transition from one note to the next. Or conversely playing a chord instead of a note, and just getting the air moving, because that's the whole thing, is moving the air pressure. The other great way to get started on tongue blocking is to listen to a lot of Big Walter, and Slim Harpo, of course, too. Because if that stuff is in your ears, it's got to come out somehow. So I always recommend Big Walter for tone improvement. Just listen to Big Walter, Big Walter, Big Walter. You have to like Big Walter, of course, for this to work, but it helps. If you're a harmonica player, you generally do. If you're not, depends. So you have those couple of styles of tongue blocking. You have octaves. And the octave position is a little different from the single note tongue blocking position. In the octave position, I think I can do this with perspective. Okay. Let's say you're playing holes 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then you want to block out the middle 2 and 3, with your tongue. There you go. So some people do this with Scotch tape. This actually would utilize the tip of your tongue because it's a very small area, so you don't really want to spread out. So it's not quite as loose and relaxed as that single note, but rather I think of it as a little bit tentative, which usually you don't want that in harmonica playing, but here it's good because it's really light. Really light touch is required, and you want to hear both sides ring out, and it's a very clean sound, the octave. Those are the 2 notes you're looking for, 1 and 4 blow. And the width of the 4 holes is about that of an Oreo cookie. I don't know if you have those in England, but they're very popular here. Like among things you can't eat before you play harmonica also. So you have to get vicarious thrill by playing a tongue-blocked octave here and there. On the draw, same thing, super relaxed. And then moving up on the harmonica, 2 and 5 blow. 2 and 5 blow is where you find out if your harmonica is in tune or not. Ouch. 2 and 5 draw, which is not an octave at all, it's a seventh. And so a lot of people get messed up when they start playing and they go, I must be playing the wrong position. They go. And if you're playing it relaxed enough, it sounds like a seventh. And if you're not, it sounds like something really bad happened. And you get up to 3 and 6 draw and you go, no! So the octaves are a little messed up. I don't think I want to take too much time going into the layout of the harmonica because there's so much material out there on YouTube about where the notes are. But once you get up to the 3 draw, you start blocking 3 holes instead of 2. And a really good exercise for getting used to the 2-hole octave block on the blow and the 3-hole on the draw, the 3 holes being blocked on the draw, is to play something like London Bridge on the high end of the harmonica. So starting on 6 and 9. 6 and 9 blow, 6 and 10 draw. And then 5 and 9 draw. And 5 and 8 blow. And eyebrows really help. Just go like that all the time. And that reminds you to play to block the 3 holes in a row. So it's a little goofy, but it's actually fun. Big Walter does a version of La Cucaracha, which is also a great way to practice those high-end octave changes. Oh, come on, Annie, you can do this. I haven't played that in a while. So that reminds me, another tongue effect is the trilling, the rolling R sound, which I know genetically not everybody can do, but the brrrr. Big Walter uses that in La Cucaracha, and Sonny Williamson uses it. Again, really as relaxed as a rolling R. And on the draw, it's more of a rolling G. So it's happening more in the back of the palate. Sort of a snoring, or where cats purr back there. So it's not a da or a ra. It's a, or as Jerry said to me, say chala. And you get used to that. It's just another little textural effect. Hi, Christelle. I can't hear you, and I can't see you, but I can see that you're in the house. So I would just want to pause for questions at this point before going on to some musical applications here. We're talking about the theory, but I'd like to definitely get into some songs and some playing.
Okay, someone mentions about instructional videos and articles by Joe Filisko on YouTube. So perhaps we shouldn't be mentioning this during your session.
Oh, instructional videos?
From Joe Filisko.
Oh, I'd be glad to plug Joe's videos, or are you asking me to plug my own?
No, someone's plugging it for him.
Oh, then I don't need to.
So,
Joe's great, though. He's a master of a lot of those tongue blocking techniques. What's that?
Then there's also, you've got any tips on playing sustained throat vibrato on draw 2 and draw 2 bent?
Oh, sure. Not so much the bend, but I guess I will plug my own video too, because I don't get into tongue blocking on my video for TrueFire. It's all about just getting started and puckering and all the things you can do with puckering, including play Jimmy Reed solos and Sonny Boy solos and Little Walter, things like that. So it covers a lot of range. It's called Blues Harmonica Blueprint, and it's on TrueFire. It's their most successful harmonica video. I think still their only one. Okay, so the sustained throat vibrato. Tongue blocking has actually helped me a lot with this. I think the sustained part of this is a little overrated because there's this idea that you should just be able to lay into a big tremolo and just hold it forever and go. But if it doesn't sound good, there's no point in doing it that way. That's just a way of conditioning yourself to do it. The real sound of a vibrato, or even a fake vibrato that we do with harmonica, which is really a tremolo, the real sound of it is a human sound. And the human sound of it comes from having a little swell in the volume. So you don't really just want to come on with a right into it. You want to give yourself a little time to warm up into it and to let your body settle into the vibrato. The sound of a vibrato is really the sound of letting go. It's not the sound of leaning in. That's just a horrible tremolo that sounds like a machine gun. So the swell is really important, and sometimes in classes I have everybody practice going up in volume and down. I'm not sure how this will come across in Zoom, but we'll try it like a... So start from a low volume, raise it up, bring it down. And we're doing this on the 2-draw tongue blocked right now. That's also a good trick because you don't want to bend it, right? So you have to use very little air pressure. You're relaxed. And as you increase the volume, you don't want to tense up anything and turn that into a bend. Now think of it as going up a hill on a bicycle or even in a car. And as you're going up the hill, you need a little more gas to get up towards the top. The more you're on the incline, the more push you need. So you're going to push it just a little bit, but when you get to the crest, you give that final push and then you let go. And now you're cruising on momentum. Now you're just sailing down the hill. But you're giving it that one extra bit of gas. And when you let go, let your throat kind of relax into a little stop. This is where the glottal stop comes back into play. Right? That's where we're getting our throat tremolo. So we're not going to try to do a tremolo and until we relax. Coming up the hill, and then just one little cough. And then keep relaxing and letting the volume drop as you finish your breath. So now basically it's like the pedals on the bicycle are going around, but you're not pedaling. So really being able to control your dropping the volume is crucial, and it's a great thing to practice. It's very meditative. Now when you get into wanting to sustain that a little longer, it's just really the practice of that process. So instead of going down a steeper hill, you're going down a shallower incline, and it takes longer to get there. So I can't deal with the screen being the opposite way. It's throwing me off. So you can let that downslope ride out as long as you want, and you can decide to keep it more level, or you can decide to drop it down and ride it out towards the bottom. I'll try to do a longer sustained one. So obviously I have to keep on breathing from my diaphragm in order to sustain that, because if I just let it drop off, it just dies. But you're really dropping the pressure a lot. And letting your throat be relaxed. It's called cavitation. Your throat is basically opening and closing for the same reason, because it's so relaxed that it's closing up and kind of sticking to itself, but then you're still breathing in, so it's so relaxed the air is just opening it rather than you using your musculature to open it. So the fade out is really important for this, because if you try to sustain at a volume, again, that's not a vibrato. That's just a pile of puke. When you start to get into more of the true vibrato, you're actually changing the pitch a little bit, and that's again a result of relaxing. And for me, the king of that has always been Jerry Portnoy on a slow blues. I don't think it really gets any better than that, except for Big Walter playing something like Trouble in Mind. So with regards to bending, it's not always possible. It depends on the day and depends on the harp sometimes. Some harps will give you a little better version of that. A sustained tremolo on a bend note is actually one of my least favorite sounds. Like when Paul Butterfield hits a 3-draw slightly bent and it goes, it just sounds like agony. And not the good kind, like good, blues agony, just like agony, agony. Just like, I think Sam's trying to get my attention, so I'm just going to turn the volume up for a sec. Are there any questions around that?
Yeah, so I was just taking a photograph of you actually there to stick on our Facebook page to see if we can get some more people in, even though we're doing very well with the numbers. We've got, I can't tongue roll on inhale, but okay on blow, and I've just tried it and I've almost swallowed my harmonica, so I wonder if you could help us with that one.
Don't use a little lady for this. You'll get in real trouble. Make sure you attach it to something so you can fish it out later. So this is, again, a little more of a palatal fry. So if you have really bad sleep apnea, this should come naturally. So it's not a tongue roll as in brrr, the front of the tongue. It's really the middle of the tongue, a totally different mechanism, basically. But you have to relax your throat a little bit so it'll happen. There are a lot of training wheels we start out with on harmonica, and most of them involve tension in the lips and the tongue as we're just trying to really play the thing. It's very active. You actively put your lips on the harmonica. You actively blow. You actively draw. As you play more and get more comfortable on the instrument, what should be happening is it becomes more passive at the point of contact. So your lips are totally relaxed. Everything that touches the instrument is loose as can be. And where the action is coming from is in here, is in your speech mechanisms. So really something that you've been doing almost all your life, speaking, is going to be really the part of the harmonica too. So again, you don't want to be spewing air and sound into the harp. You want to just be letting the air go through and vibrate. And then you just change the air flow a little bit, and that affects the quality of the vibration. Okay, let's get to some music. Raining in My Harp by Slim Harpo. I think he plays this on a C harp, but I think for the purpose of the workshop, I'll stick with an A harp so nobody has to go switching, if that's okay. If we have any requests to switch harps, I'd gladly do that. But for now, starts on a 3/6 blow octave, goes to a 1/4 draw, and now I'm going to play 3 and 4 draw together, puckered, and I'm going to bring that from a bend, out of a bend and back into a bend. And I'm using tongue articulation for this. Ku-wa-oo. It's one of my favorite motions. It's like an apostrophe or something when you go. There's a real swell in the volume and in the sound of it. So you're playing 3 and 4. Ku-wa, like a train whistle. And then you bring it back down to a bend, kind of a whole step bend, and bring it in a little from the side so it's not quite a full 3 and 4, but like 3 with a little bit of 4. And then sliding over to the 2. This is all with the pucker. 2, sometimes with a little bit of 3, and you have to relax and let go of everything to get that 2. Otherwise, it'll sound like that. So that wouldn't be good. And then you open up again for a big, relaxed 1/4 blow. So the whole thing should sound like it feels and feel like it sounds, and it should feel good. Because the way Slim Harpo is playing, he's moving the air around in a beautiful way. So when you copy that motion, you should be able to feel some of that naturalness. So as you get used to that, you're moving a lot of air through those octaves. And breathe out, breathe in. Very clear and articulate. And then you get into that nice, dirty. And then sweet and clean again. And now a big, clean 1/4 blow. And then the same figure. Now I'll go down to a 1 draw. 2 blow. 3 blow. And then 2 draw. This is kind of like what John Gindick calls a good morning riff. 1 draw, 2 blow, 3 blow. And it's the first 3 notes of Amazing Grace. So it's really as soulful and gospel-y as you can get. I like to go 1, 2, 1 draw, 2 and 3 blow, and then resolve to a 2 draw, because now I've gotten rid of a little air. Now I have room to bring some air in on the 2 draw with a little vibrato. And you can do a combination of puckering and tongue blocking, or just pucker. It really depends on what kind of sound you want to get. If you want to get super fancy, then pucker up to the 3 blow, and then left side tongue block the 2 draw. Sometimes I like to try those things just to see if I can do them, and then if I make a mistake and get really embarrassed, then I'll remember the next time. That's pretty much how I learn just about everything I know, is to screw it up at least once in front of people. Sometimes more than once. So that whole riff again. Okay, now this is where that question actually really is very on point, because you're going to go. Some people play a 2 draw to a 2 draw bend, just a half step, and then up to the 3 draw whole step. Puckering is perfectly legal for this. Oh, now I'm forgetting the song. Okay. So actually, sometimes it starts on the 2 draw, sometimes it starts on the 3 draw. I'll do the 3 draw version. I'm articulating that a little bit. Not so much with a T, but more with a K or a sort of a hard H. Kui, kui. So it starts on that kind of back of the tongue fry, but you want to open it up and again swell the note to get the beauty out of the 3 draw, which again is just really about relaxing and brightening up the sound. Now you can really set up for the vibrato by going. You're going to go from the 3 draw whole step bend to the 2 draw, back to the 3 draw whole step bend. and this can be a real bear. Again, the ticket is really to not play it too hard, but it's really hard to not play it too hard when it seems like you're not playing it hard enough, like it's moving around too much. The two draw, especially, to get that to sound out without bending, you have to completely relax and just give yourself over to it. Just like let go. Let go. The note will be there because you're pulling for the three draw bend. Also, you're relaxing your lips a little bit. So you're going from just a little more of a puckered thing to a little more relaxed of a lip pucker around the two. And you'll still get it because you're pointing the air towards that note. But that's the thing you can practice a lot and get better at, and it'll really help you. Now I'm doing a kind of airy three draw whole step bend tremolo. The whole thing is about setup. So I learned this from some of my extensive phone conversations with Pierre Beauregard, the head of the Cambridge Harmonica Orchestra. He would talk about this endlessly, about how little Walter would set himself up for the next note. Everything he played, he was thinking ahead to the next thing he was going to play, and he was making sure that his air was in the right place to make that note happen. And I would go, how the hell do you do that? But actually, after like 30 years of playing, it's easier. So if you're playing a vibrato on the three draw when it's just open, then you're already doing it. You're already getting some momentum going. Now you move into this little lick. Your throat is still in vibrato mode. So you're just kind of continuing what you've already started. You had this really minor detour of, but you haven't stopped vibrating. So doing it really lightly. It's not my best three draw vibrato, but that's kind of that's like a serendipitous occasion when the ghost of Big Walter shows up and smiles at me, which doesn't happen unless I really, 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 really ask very nicely. The three draw, of course, is you have to kind of fake your way through the three draw bend anyway to get it to sound good. So you don't really want to hang out there too long. So, and to finish up this riff, now you're stringing a few riffs together. Your good morning riff. So one draw, two blow, three blow. Three draw, four draw. And back to the one draw. Amazing Grace and Resolve. Raining in My Heart. Does anybody have any questions about that song?
If people could write the questions in there. I'm just looking through.
Sonny Terry never tongue blocked, apparently.
Oh, there you go. I was just about to come on to that.
Okay. Yeah, he sounds like he is, but according to everybody, he's not. Paul played with him a bunch of times and said, no, he always puckered. Played a golden melody. Yeah. Oh, the name of that song was Raining in My Heart by Slim Harpo. Another good Slim Harpo song is Tina Nina Nu. That's in straight harp. I've Got to Be With You Tonight. That's in third position. I think Blues Hangover is also in third position. And that's a good one. It's just spoken. There's a really good cross harp song that he does called Moody Blues. And it's a really good way to just work on a motif. I recommend that one. But yeah, I love Slim Harpo, just the way he plays and sings and everything. And he's a great teacher. I didn't take lessons from him personally or anything like that, not that kind of teacher, but like his playing is very instructive. And I think all the master players are master teachers in that way. Like Sonny Boy almost seems like he's trying to tell you how it goes. Like, just do it like this. And you get the idea. Actually, I do want to switch harps. Is that okay? Okay. Yes, okay, good. Not as good as a wink. I'm going to switch to a D harp. There's another kind of tongue blocking effect that I like to talk about. I call it push-offs or tongue blocking nothing or what the. It's when you play a tongue block single note with a slap. I've got a D harp here. And then you push your tongue forward a little bit and let it cover every note. So you're still pushing a little bit, pushing your breath, but now there's a vacuum set up. You're pushing against the weight of your tongue. And I'm letting my eyes bug out just so you can visualize it. And when you let go of that, you get this nice percussive chord. So I'll do it again. I'm going to play 1, 2, 3, 4 blow on the D harp. I'm going to cover up everything but the 4 blow. And then I'm going to cover up everything. And build up a little bit of pressure. And then I'm going to just release that pressure. Just relax my tongue and let it fall off the harp. So it helps if you roll your tongue forward just a little bit into your teeth. So it'll give it a little more coverage. And then when you release it, it'll just kind of go da. The same thing on the draw. Feels a little different, but same process. Chord, single note, block everything, hold the vacuum, release the vacuum. And it kind of rolls into triplet time, so it's not just, it's not like you're just playing it in any particular rhythm. It has a definite triplet feeling to it. So one and the and is the silent part where you're holding that vacuum. So it's one, which for playing a standard diatonic scale doesn't really add up to anything, but does actually carry a little bit more. Or just going back to my A harp for like Walter's Boogie. That is not an A harp, it's a low F sharp. Sorry about that. Why do you all look alike? It's going to conserve a lot of air. It's going to allow you to play much more because you're not going to be fainting from over-oxygenation. I can't say it because I've been breathing too hard. Too much air. So it goes into this swing boogie kind of thing. And that's just those what-thas or push-offs. You're kind of pushing off the harmonica and again, just letting the release of air create the percussion. So going back to the D harp. When I first heard Sonny Boy do Keep It to Yourself, I didn't know how to tongue block then, and I couldn't really get Sonny Boy. Like, I liked him okay, and I liked his songs, but I stopped listening to him for a while because I couldn't figure out, like, how to play like him and sound good. And so when I did it, just sounded like thin and weak. When I started tongue blocking, somebody told me, actually it was Pierre again, told me Sonny Boy tongue blocked everything. So I said, really? Okay, let me check that out again. And between that and the what-thas, and I started hearing better what he was doing. So that's all tongue blocking, and it's mostly those push-offs. What the, what the, what the. So it allows you to also turn around your breath direction on a chord instead of having to turn it around on a note. Much easier. So now you're just moving the air easily through the harmonica. So pretty much everything Sonny Boy plays, you can really get into the tongue blocking and also into that sort of overhung position of the tongue, using the flat front part of the middle of the tongue. Like yeah. So like that, like that. And if you change your ah sounds to e sounds a little bit, you can really get into those tones. Atawita, atawita. Which I think somebody was here on the classes from Slovenia, and this might actually mean something in Slovenian that I don't know about. Atolita. I hope it doesn't mean anything bad. Now, some players use the underside of their tongue, as I mentioned, and I'm going to go back to my A harp for a second for this. It's just a little. I'm not sure you can hear the difference unless I amplify it. No, let me go back to the D harp, sorry. You might not be able to hear a difference in tone. Let me try it. So here's the over the tongue, front of the tongue. And now here's the underside of the tongue, which I generally don't use with slapping because it's very hard to slap with the underside of your tongue without some sort of injury resulting. So that's my disclaimer here. But it's great for octaves and for just loose, intentional slop. Or a side-to-side tongue flutter where you're going tongue to each side. It's a lot easier if you put the tip of your tongue on top of the harp and sort of wave it side to side there so that your tongue isn't touching the comb, because then that can get, again, sort of abrasive. But I think where you really hear the difference is in amplified playing, and I'm just going to pick up my mic for a couple minutes. You'll hear a low frequency hum as the amp warms up. Not yet. It's cold. It's cold here. There we go. Hear the hum? So, I'm going to go back to my A harp because D harp is too loud for the amp. I don't know why. My low F sharp harp is like, it's like a puppy in a pet store. It just wants to be picked up. All right, got my A harp. that's just kind of a Louis Myers, James Cotton bastardized boogie. And using the top front of the tongue to do most of that articulation. Now, on the underside of the tongue, I've been told that Little Walter used the underside of his tongue for tongue blocking. And so when I play Little Walter stuff, I try to go for that. I'm not really as good at playing the underside, but it does make a difference in tone. So. Solo. Of course, he puckered a lot too to get some of that T articulation, so I'm mixing up my Little Walter solos. Especially on the slow blues, you get a little more of a contemplative sound. Did that sound, was the tone any different? I'm not even sure if the computer, the software would pick up on that. Was there a noticeable change in the tone?
Yes, yeah, definitely.
What did you notice was different about it?
Actually, someone else has come in with the saying hard to tell the difference. Christelle says it's got more bass. And there are quite a few questions about your gear as well. I don't know if you want to take some of those.
Let's see. Well, maybe I will. Hold on.
I think in particular your microphone.
Sure.
And someone says, with such small hands, that is a massive tone.
I learned this from watching James Cotton. James Cotton did not have big hands. They were just hammy. So if you're using your palms more than your fingers to get that cup, then that'll work in your favor. Because I have like the worst fingers for getting a cup. You can actually see light through them. So there's it's hopeless. With the microphone too, there are different ways. You want to hold the microphone as far away from the harmonica as you can to get a little sound chamber in there. If you're just holding the harp up against the mic like this, all you're getting is like the direct vibration. It's almost like a digital signal, the equivalent. So what the diaphragm of the microphone really wants to receive is the sound of the harmonica coming through the air and everything you do to that air. So I'm holding it as far away as I can without dropping it. And bringing my right hand around. Let me see if I can turn around and do this. Like so. No, that's not working. Okay. All right, so my left pinky and ring finger are holding this harmonica, which is a static, not a green bullet. Green bullets are a little heavier. Sometimes harder to hold on to. And then I bring my right hand around, again, using the hammy parts of my hands. And I get that around this side. And sort of fold them up, close them up. I'm not that worried about the fingers. What I'm really worried about, not worried, but is what's going on underneath. Because the where your palms meet at your wrists is the critical part to close up. If you've got the top closed up, but you're open in front, you're going to lose all that seal. So you want it to be like this, kind of closed up. Not tight, just relaxed again so it spreads out. And then I turned off my amp. But you have all the space on the top. And that's your tone chamber. So you can manipulate that different ways. And it's very subtle when you're amplified. You can just move one finger and everything changes. For other gear, I'll show you my rig here. Oh, actually, I can't do that. Can I start my video? Is it possible to switch over to my other camera to pin the other video for a moment?
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's see. iPad camera, is that going?
Oh, I see what you mean. Sorry.
Okay.
To pin that one on, hang on. I've got to find you first. Let's have a look.
Okay, you gotta find me. Well, it's very nice. If you could see what I'm seeing now. No. Maybe this will just end up screwing up the video, but I could take a picture of it.
I've got to get rid of the. I think they both come up.
I've got my iPad pointing at my.
Yeah, they both came up then.
Oh, they both came up as the same feed? Okay. Well, maybe I can hold it up instead. Playing through this little reverb pedal, reverb delay pedal. Oh, okay, we got it now. Okay, can you hear me or see me?
Neither now.
Okay, well, let's just go back. Okay.
There you are. You're back with us, Annie.
Okay. Right, so I'm still going through this audio here.
It's your iPad now. Getting a good tour of your room there.
To the room where behind the curtain. Got this little thing here. This is helping.
We've.
Oops. And there you go. Okay. Sorry about dropping that. Okay, where am I? I think I have tape over my camera. There we go. All right, we can go back to the other video now. Can you hear me though? Yes.
We can hear you.
Good. Please
Just
stand
having
by.
trouble.
Technical difficulties. So I'm just waiting to get back to my original video here. Because we're on the iPad.
Right, I'm just trying to do that.
There we go. No? Can you go back to the other Annie Rains?
Yeah, I'm just trying to do that and remove spotlight. It's not letting me actually.
Huh. Oh, maybe I should start video. Oh, hold on. There we go. Unable to start video. Wait, when you need to start my other video. I think when you stopped the other video, it went back.
Okay.
Okay.
So I've asked you to start the video now.
Thank you. And we're back. Okay, yeah, there's always something new to factor in.
I've learned something there.
Okay. Oh dear. Okay, chat. Okay, so I wanted to take some more questions. If you have a chance. If I can get the tech to happen here. So while I'm turning my laptop iPad inside out, I will. Here we go.
Have we got any more questions coming through?
Do you mind if I just say something there? To everyone, we're trying to keep music live, so please dig deep this evening. Every single penny you donate will be going to our artists, and we're so grateful that we haven't got some good players. We've got some of the best players in the world with us this weekend. So please, please, please dig deep, and let's give some money to our guests. Thank you.
Well, I would like to second that, and I would also like to thank everybody at Harmonica UK for putting this festival on and keeping the music going. It's something that we all really have to get creative to do, and it's so important to all of us who love music. I think we're really identifying ourselves at this time. You know, it's something that people sort of loosely understand about themselves, but I think people who love music are really having to declare themselves for it and make sure that it happens, because all these venues are closing and musicians are out of work, and it's very difficult to gather in person and have a sense of community that we're used to having. So I really appreciate the tremendous effort it takes to put together all the technology and the non-tech savvy people like myself to be able to share music with each other, and I can't wait till we can share it in person again.
Yeah. Are we guys okay to do another 5 minutes? Because someone said to play some more harp, please, Andy. I'm just looking at a nod from the other guys. Is that all right, Pete? Yeah, there you go. Pete said so.
Okay, let's see. Let's see if there's anything else that any requests?
Oh, any requests? You have to be quick with it.
And also acoustic or electric?
I think you're going to have to decide.
How about something on the low harp that keeps trying to get in?
Oh, the low F sharp harp? Oh boy.
Right, someone's saying electric, please. That's Christelle.
Oh, electric, please. Oh, well, harp.
Electric.
But my guitar player isn't here. I can get him to plug in. That would take another 5 minutes just to get.
Oh no, I think playing through the amp. I think people mean is that?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll probably be an instrumental because my accompanist isn't here. Just his guitar, and I can't do both at once. Someday, but not now. Is it okay if I just like play anything I feel like? Okay. Thank you for letting me indulge, because, you know, again, oh, Devil in the Woodpile. Oh. Well, maybe I'll get that. I'll work that in there. All right. It may start as a shuffle, and it may turn into a slow blues or the other thing. Or a rumba. fade out.
Yep.